This video is titled Coward Pastors versus Courage Pastors, Ignorance Corrected. Well, we've just taken a look at ignorance, arrogance, or cowardice, but how do we correct this ignorance? How do we address these blind spots? Well, we're going to rapid fashion take a look at each of the areas of ignorance and provide you a nugget of truth that you can explore further. And I'd love to commend to you ChristianCivicsTraining.org as a place to do a deep dive. Well, let's take a look at these areas of ignorance or blind spots and the truths that correct them. The Bible has teaching on God's design for civil government. In Romans 13, we get the essence of it, that it's to restrain evil and to encourage good, that God has an opinion on how leaders should be selected, capable men who fear God. Look at Exodus 18:21. And God also passes judgment on civil leaders that they either do right in the eyes of the Lord in their civil office or they do wickedness. That America was truly founded on Christian principles. Take a look at the book Making of America by Cleon Skousen or The American Covenant by Marshall Foster. About the patriotic preaching for 150 years up to the American Revolution. Take a look at the book Pulpits of the American Revolution. About the Declaration, Constitution, and Bill of Rights, that the name of the Creator is given over and over again, that God-given rights come from Him, that the nature of man be addressed in civil documents, that biblical principles of government are embedded in our founding documents. About the lie of separation of church and state not being in the Constitution. It actually says in the First Amendment that Congress shall make no law establishing or prohibiting the freedom of religion. That they have 100% freedom in the pulpit to teach on anything they want. Everything you see is biblical. That they can call out wickedness and corruption in political parties and politicians by name. That the disciples in Acts 4 did just this, and John the Baptist and Jesus did it as well. That their church will actually grow if they are bold in the pulpit. Courage in pastors is attractive, and churches explode in growth when they see courage. The pulpits were aflame with righteousness, liberty, and rebellion against tyrants during the American Revolution. Take a look at the book Political Sermons of the American Founding Era. Pastors have been lied to about the Founding Fathers being deists, and yet these deists were constantly praying to God and looking for God's providences and constantly acknowledging those providences. That they've been lied to about Thomas Jefferson cutting miracles out of his Bible. Well, in fact, Thomas Jefferson did a personal Bible study that he labeled the moral teachings of Jesus, and it was for his own use. Later, those who wanted to besmirch Jefferson labeled this the Jefferson Bible and used it to rail against him. That cultural Marxists have infiltrated seminaries and church denominations. The book Dupes identifies this. That museums have been funded to highlight America's and the founders' flaws, examples of James Madison's house and Thomas Jefferson's house. You see millionaire donors make gifts on condition that race issues are highlighted and then the weaknesses of the founders are exploited. That even government institutions like the Smithsonian censor and even lie about the founders, the founding documents, and faith. The Smithsonian even put a harmful content warning on U.S. founding documents. That Marxists and other God-haters have as their goal to fundamentally transform our nation. The Communist Party USA says so, and the Special Operations Task Force Unconstrained Analytics documents this. That political Marxists truly want to cancel them. Government, big tech, big banks, colleges, speech is crushed. That the sexual Marxists truly seek the destruction of marriage, human sexuality, and identity. Pride parades, DEI, crushing of free speech. Take a look at the story of Riley Gaines. That if pastors comply to the demands of the wicked, they will lose their opportunity to preach the gospel. Just look at Canada, England, Scotland, and Europe. Pastors are ignorant about how truly evil and power-hungry cultural Marxists are. Karl Marx spoke of hellish vapors and the destruction of society in his works. But here's some encouragement. Pastors don't know that there's a real remnant fighting for spiritual and civil liberty that can resource them. See Patriot Academy, Biblical Citizenship Courses, ChristianCivicsTraining.org. That they can preach on biblical citizenship and do biblical citizenship courses in their church. That in a country such as ours, God has given the members of their church the talent of voting, and that God will hold them accountable how they will use that talent. This is where every Christian has a duty to vote, and churches need to be engaged. that the gospel's much more than the message of salvation, but about an entire way of kingdom living. Jesus constantly said he came to proclaim the kingdom. Salvation is the gateway into that kingdom. That the church standing up to evil is attractive to non-believers, not off-putting. Albert Einstein and tens of thousands of others through the ages have found the church to be inspiring when it stands up to wickedness. And finally, that the gospel of nice will destroy the church and is unbiblical. We are called to truth and love, not the gospel of nice. So, Pastor, here's what you can do. Overcome these blind spots, and this short video has gotten you started. Pray for strength and courage. Preach righteousness and justice. Preach about God's principles of civil government. Get your people involved in being salt and light to culture and civil government. Challenge your people that they will be held accountable to be a steward of their vote. Train your congregation in biblical citizenship. Contend for the faith. And then finally, tear down speculations, opinions, theories, conjectures, and falsehoods, and every lofty thing raised up against the knowledge of God. Use ChristianCivicsTraining.org to expand your education. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, the people groan. My name's Craig Seibert. Thanks for listening.